All right, so my name is Major Michael O'Connor, O apostrophe capital Connor. I'm the Major Crimes Commander for the Atlanta Police Department. And I'm here to give a brief statement on the arrest warrants that we've issued in the Bridget Shiel homicide. So as many of you know, on May 30th, 2016, Bridget Shiel left her residence to go out to get something from the store. And she intended to come back and then go out that night with a friend of hers. That would never happen. She would later be seen at a gas station about an hour and a half later, somewhere in DeKalb County near Rockbridge and Memorial Drive. We are able to capture her vehicle on video in that parking lot, and we were able to capture a female that went in that apparently purchased a Sprite for the occupants of that vehicle, brings the Sprite back out to the car. We also have a witness from that location who told us that Bridget looked extremely nervous in the car. She wouldn't come forward or put two and two together until the following day after news broke that Ms. Shiel was later found deceased in Oakland Park. So what happens after that is they leave that area and they basically drive around for a while, and we see them again the following day just after midnight in Oakland Park. On a surveillance camera, you can see Bridget's car go into the park. But the camera doesn't cover the entire event. So shortly after that car scene, a 911 call goes up for shots being fired in the park. A unit responds out there, kind of looks around, but it's nighttime. They don't see anything amiss. There's nothing unusual to see. They clear the park. It's the following morning when Bridget Shiel is located in the park, deceased from gunshot wounds. So that would begin the investigation from that point. The following day, the day after that happens, Bridget's car is located in the 4900 block of Redan Road. We, of course, process the vehicle. We process the area around that for any evidence. And when we did that, we found a dress that was some distance away from the vehicle near a fence. And a Sprite bottle is on the other side of the fence, which was noted by the investigators and collected as well and would become important later. So they collect that Sprite bottle at that time. And as the investigation goes on, they're able to put two and two together about how all of this transpires. And essentially what occurs is there was some forensic evidence that was recovered from Mrs. Shiel by the medical examiner's office that was submitted for DNA testing. That evidence would later, more than a year later, come back and identify a suspect for us named Christopher Spencer. Christopher Spencer was identified because he had been charged and convicted of a double homicide in DeKalb County and had entered the Department of Corrections at the Macon State Prison. When you do that, you have to provide a DNA sample to the state, and when that sample hit the CODIS database, it came back to us that was consistent with what was found in Mrs. Shiel. And then it was also consistent with some DNA that was recovered from the Sprite bottle that had been purchased at the convenience store the last time that we knew her to be seen on camera as being alive or by a witness as being alive. So all of that would match together. So there's been some time go by since that happened, and the reason for that is we submitted a case file. The investigators all got together, went over the information that they had, submitted their file to the district attorney's office. There were some questions that the district attorney's office wanted us to do some follow-up on and wanted us to try and speak to some other people. We did that, and when we felt comfortable that the file was complete, then we reached back out to them, and we've reached the point now where we were able to secure an arrest warrant for murder for Christopher Spencer, which occurred yesterday. So he's now been charged in this homicide. I'm willing to take any questions you have, but that's kind of the basics of the case.
Why was he out for so long? I mean, he was, from our research, we found that he was also connected to other murders. Prominent one out of Clayton County and a double murder in DeKalb. Why was he not caught sooner? Like, what prevented you all from catching him sooner?
Well, in our case, we had absolutely no witnesses, and we had no evidence beyond the DNA evidence that would lead to a suspect identification. That identification wasn't possible until he entered the prison system on the other charges from the other jurisdictions, and his profile was entered into the DNA database, the CODIS database. So we had very, very few leads and very little information. You know, we had no witnesses per se that could identify a suspect. We didn't have the suspects on videotape. At the convenience store, they were smart enough to have somebody who was just hanging out at the store go in and buy the items they want. They didn't even get out of the vehicle that they were in, so that wasn't captured on camera. So we didn't have a ton to work with initially, and then when we were able to get an identification, then by that time, the rush on our case was over with, in the sense that he was already serving life without parole in the state prison system.
What about anyone else connected to this?
So we believe there's one other person in the vehicle at the time that she's seen at the gas station. But as far as any other information we have on that individual, we're still working through that.
Why was she killed?
We don't know the answer to that.
So the key clue in all of this was the DNA evidence that was found both on Bridget's body and that Sprite bottle.
In our case, the absolute key clue would be the DNA evidence, yes.
Have you all had a chance to, when will you all interview Spencer? Because I'm assuming you all have to interview him at some point, but when are you all planning on interviewing him regarding this case?
Well, we have done an initial interview with him already.
Has he confessed to killing Bridget Shiel?
I don't believe that he confessed, no.
Did he have any remorse, or did he say anything when he was interviewed by detectives?
He said that he had never seen Mrs. Shiel before.
So he denied it?
Yes.
Do you believe this to be gang related?
Not our homicide, no.
Do you believe that he is a part of the gang?
Yes.
Will the family speak?
So, Ms. Shiel's going to provide a brief statement to everybody, and then she can take a few questions, but she's not going to take a ton of questions, okay?
Really quickly, though, before, in the DeKalb County, the elderly folks, I mean, I didn't cover that story. I don't know if they were shot, but were the same RIP bullets used on those victims?
I don't know the answer to that, but we could find out for you.
So you're saying the surveillance video, though, at the convenience store really didn't play a big part in leading to this?
I wouldn't say that. I think any piece of evidence plays its part or role in any investigation, and that was extremely helpful because we were able to interview the person who handed off the Sprite bottle, and I don't know that we would have been able to do that without that video evidence.
And why was she targeted?
Why was who targeted?
Bridget Shiel. Why did they particularly?
Yeah, so that goes to the motive question, and we simply just don't know.
No clue at all?
We really don't. I mean, I'm sure that investigators that have worked the case have made educated guesses, but I'm not. We do not have a definitive motive, so I can't speak to it.
So
Did
no
these two
motive?
know each other?
I don't know the answer. I don't believe so, but I don't know that definitively either.
So no motive, no confession, but you're certain?
Well, I have DNA evidence that says it's so. So, Michelle.
Oh, I want to say thank you to APD, Detective Lowe, Detective Quinn, Velasquez, Major Adam Lee, Nefertiti. Thank you so much for not forgetting about Bridget and keeping her case alive. And I'm just overwhelmed with feelings, and that's just about all I can say right now. Thank you.
Do I have any remaining questions? I'm sorry.
I want to thank all the detectives and all of the police who have worked on her case, and Nefertiti for keeping Bridget's case in the eye of the public, and the police also did a great job of that. And I'd just like to say that we miss her more every day.
Does this help with closure at all?
So far, it hasn't helped. Maybe if we find out how he got her, and it could be a chance encounter, we just don't know, and I don't know that it will help at all.
And I don't know if Major Adam Lee and Detective Lowe can speak to this because they've been on this case since the beginning. You guys you've had the DNA since January of last year. I know it was difficult for both of you to have this DNA and not have a suspect for a really long time. So I imagine that as detectives doing what you do for so many years, this also has to be a good day for you.
Yes, I will say it is a good day, but as Ms. Shiel was saying, it doesn't bring Bridget back. But we are glad that we were able to catch the person that we believe is responsible for her death. And with the DNA, that was a big lead to help us solve this case.